Hi guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So it's been a little bit of a while since my last video, so apologies for that, but I think I've got something really cool for you guys today. So last couple of videos I've basically done videos of my races and showing you them through the live stream of them and the onboard. Today is going to be a little bit more different, it's going to be a little bit more technical. I'm going to talk to you about the difference between driving in the wet and driving in the dry, specifically in a front wheel drive car. So we'll get to it. I've got 2 onboard laps and we'll compare them. So here we are at the start of the lap. You can see on the left is the wet, on the right is the dry. So we've got it in quite slow motion here, so you can really see the difference in lines. So on the approach here in the wet lap, you go right for the outside, right? You can see I've already started turning in on the dry line, taking that natural line that you'd expect, going for the apex, but in the wet we've gone right to the outside to the white line, then we've turned it in, let the car do the work. You can see I'm not putting any more steering in, and I'm trying to get the wheel straight by the middle of the corner to try and get the best exit with traction possible. On the dry line you can see I'm running curb on the exit at this point, but I can't do that in the wet because once you hit that paint, that curb, the wheel basically just wheel spins, and then the front wheel drive car you get pulled off. In the rear wheel drive car it can lead to a really big moment. So here it's all about trying to really go late on the brakes at this hairpin, and you can really see that in the dry, the different line we take there to really maximize the speed in. Rather in the wet we've tried to brake offline here to miss that rubber where it's going to be really slippery and gain a bit more grip. The thing about this corner in particular is that normally at a hairpin you'd go all the way around the outside, but because it was resurfaced you could actually hug the inside a lot more in the wet, and then try and get it squared off, hugging it tighter on the inside when you actually get on the power on the exit than you actually do in the dry, in terms of carrying that momentum that you can always do when it's dry. The next corner, again, approaching it completely differently. In the dry you're all the way on the right, rather in the wet we're actually aiming it almost away from the corner to try and get to where we need to find that grip right on the outside. So again we go right to the white line, we're off the brake now, letting the car rotate, waiting patiently, and then we can get off the steering lock to get on the power. Rather in the dry you could see how much more you could basically send it through the corner, getting onto the inside curb and getting on the power there to maximize, the shortest possible distance. So this next corner is really fast and flowing. In the dry it's completely flat out. It's not comfortable flat out, but it is flat, so you send it in, you can see the steering lock get right over the curb. In the wet we nibble it, but it's really difficult. You can't do it flat out, you have to give it a little bit of a break just to try and keep the momentum up. Then you have to set up the right hander here. So in the dry, again, look how much we bring it into the inside more and how much time you've gained compared to in the wet, getting that inside apex to then get on the power. Then the wet, look, we've gone all the way to the white line on the exit. It is quite terrifying as the grass is so close and the mistake easily leads you to the barrier on the outside. So we've gone back again to really look at that in the wet to see where you can find that grip, especially because this is where the GP layout meets the Indy layout. So there's a real cross of grip there, where it's good, where it's not. Then you can get on the power on the outside and really make the most of the exit there. I guys really enjoyed watching that and the comparison of the 2 different laps. The main things to take away in driving from the wet and the dry is basically trying to find where the grip is, and that means going where you wouldn't normally drive in the dry, because that's where the rubber goes down. And events like say Formula 1 where they put down lots of rubber because of how big the tyres are and how much power and speed and load goes through a Formula 1 car with those tyres, it would make it really difficult to actually drive on the dry line in the wet. So the bigger cars and championships that you have going to event, the more rubber goes down, the more difficult it is. As well, day by day it's going to get grippier and grippier if it stays sunny, so then when it pours down with rain, that part of the circuit becomes super slippery. And that's why the Indy circuit in particular is a very slippery circuit, because it's used for lots of different championships, lots of different events. What makes it unique is that you have the GP layout, which isn't used a lot. This is normally due to noise of the surrounding area, and therefore the actual back section of the circuit that's used for the GP in the wet feels amazing. It feels like there's lots of grip, but then you join onto the Indy circuit and there's very little. When when you're driving on the Indy circuit in a touring car, front wheel drive car like you've just seen, you've basically through the last corner really got to find that GP entrance where it comes into, where it joins together, to find where the grip is. And that's why you see me sending it all the way around the outside, you know, taking the longest distance possible, you know, to the start finish line, which you try your best not to do in the dry, to basically keep up where that grip is, to be able to get on the power easier, get to full power, get the steering off, and really get that traction out of it. With front wheel drive car, you're normally going to get understeer if you have like wheel spin. So if you hit a curb, suddenly you're understeer and you just won't be able to turn the car in. In the rear wheel drive car, normally, you know, the rear wheels will go because they'll spin up. So a little bit different in terms of how you would go with a rear wheel drive car compared to a front wheel drive car. You have to be so much more patient in the front wheel drive car. As you can see, you know, we'd brake deep into the corner, we'd be off the brake, we'd wait patient for the front, you turn the wheel, and then at the point where you can suddenly see it bite and rotate around, we get back on the power to then try and get the best exit possible without having to put any more lock in, which would then cause us some understeer on the exit of the corner. So if you guys have enjoyed this video, please do like, subscribe, and feel free to leave any questions below in the comments. Talk to you guys soon.